Today, I want to start you off with a number 49.8. And welcome back. I'm Stephen J. Campbell. This is a Vegas and national news hybrid update. I want to tell you the state of the reality of the economy right now so you can be prepared for what's coming next. But 49.8, that's the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index as of this week. And I want you to understand something about what this means. This isn't just a bad number. It's not a low number. This is an all-time record low. It's the lowest reading in the entire history of that survey. It goes all the way back to 1978. So it's lower than the financial crisis, and it's lower than COVID. And this is what makes this all worse. They asked people what they think inflation is going to do over the next year. And people said 4.7%. And that's jumped a full percentage point in a single month, a full point in just 30 days. If you think this is just a vibe thing, by the way, just people being grumpy and pessimistic, the S&P Global came out the same week and said prices charged by businesses just hit the highest level in nearly 4 years. So the vibe that people have is tracking the reality. It's not people imagining this. Now, what I want to do is pause and tell you what this means for Vegas, because this is where it starts to get a little bonkers and interesting. Because while all that's happening nationally, while people are getting scared and they're pulling back and they're keeping their money close, not spending, the airlines just told us something that should make every person in this town sit up straight with fear. See, airlines have already cut approximately 60,000 inbound seats to Vegas through October. That's not a forecast. It's actually happened. The airports have said so. Delta specifically paused its Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina to Vegas route. It's gone from June 2nd through September 8th. And Delta's CEO said publicly they're expecting $2 billion in extra fuel costs between April and June because of what's happening right now in the Strait of Hormuz. See, jet fuel is running about twice the price that it was a year ago. And what do airlines do when jet fuel doubles? They cut the routes that are the hardest to fill, the leisure routes, the discretionary routes, the Vegas routes. Now, we're going to get into what's really happening here, but before I do that, I just want to get personal with you for a second. You see, these big companies are profiting off you while most of you are stuck worrying about inflation and layoffs, but you don't really need to feel that way. There's a way that you can take control right now. And so for the last few years, I've been actually personally trading the markets like every day. Like, look at this. This is today. This is what we call a candle. Takes 2 minutes to form, and boom, just like that, it's worth well over $1,000. So you see a pattern, you click a button, you make your life easier for yourselves by taking some money out of the markets. 15 minutes, then you go back to your real world knowing that you have a skill that's changed your path in life forever. And that's what I teach over 1,200 students in 1K a day. I show you how it's done, start to finish, how to spot patterns, when to click the buttons, set yourself up for success, come out with some of the heat taken off your shoulders. Most of my students are making $100 a day, $200 the next. And then I got students like Mr. J, $3,000 in withdrawals. It's so great. And that doesn't just change a little thing in your life. That is completely life-changing. So here's the deal. If you want to get the best price for 1K a day, be one of the first 5 people watching this video. Just click the link in the pinned comment. Type in the code B1, and you get the entire course, lifetime access, for just $247. That's the only price you'll ever pay me for it. And do it before I jack the price up again. I just did that today. You missed it. You missed out on our flash sale, $199. Don't miss it here. And don't make me call you Missy Misdemeanor Elliott when we meet live streaming one day, okay? Going back to that number, here's what I want you to actually think about. It's that 60,000 seats number. The airport spokesperson was very careful to say it's only about 0.15% of the total capacity. And technically that's true. But here's what they did not say. They didn't tell you what happens to the math when oil stays above $90 a barrel for 90 days. Because analysts are saying right now that if it does, if crude holds at that level, we're going to be looking at a very different set of numbers by midsummer. And we're already kind of approaching into that territory. So more routes cut, more suspensions, fewer people coming. And the people who are going to come, they just watch their gas bill go up for the 3rd straight month, and their inflation expectations just jumped a full percentage point. So they're not feeling like booking a Vegas trip right now. They're not feeling like doing pretty much of anything. And we get receipts on that because Boyd Gaming just reported their first quarter numbers. Boyd's one of the largest gaming operators in the Valley, and they cater to locals. So they're not a hedge fund in New York talking about Vegas. They live here. And here's what the CEO said on an earnings call. So he said travelers in early 2026 are still following last year's pattern. And he said people are staying closer to home. Their Las Vegas revenue was down. Their earnings were down. The Orleans Hotel, one of their flagship properties, it's feeling it the worst. And one of the Wall Street analysts on the call asked him to point blank when Vegas tourism is going to turn in stronger numbers. Here's what he said. He said as they get into the second half of the year, the comparisons will get easier. But when it's fully turned back up, and this is his quote, he said it's hard to tell. Man, the CEO of a major Vegas gaming company, hard to tell. It's not a guy who's panicking, but it's also not a guy who's telling you everything is fine. You know, you hear the difference, right? He's telling you the truth in corporate language, which is that the destination business, people getting on planes to come here and spend, it's soft. It's been soft, and nobody can tell you exactly how it turns. Now, here's the part that I think is the most important and the one that people are really not talking about enough. Vegas isn't dying on the weekends. Let me be really clear about that. If you come here on a Friday or a Saturday, the place looks alive. The sphere is lit up, the events are popping, the strip looks like the strip. Weekend occupancy on the strip is running above 95% for major events. That's great and that's real. But then Monday comes, boom, things look way different. Midweek occupancy is running in the mid 70s. There's a gap between what Vegas looks like on a Saturday and what Vegas actually is Monday through Thursday. And that gap is the problem because Vegas doesn't run on weekends alone. Vegas runs on conventions, business travel, on the person who's here Tuesday night spending money at dinner. That midweek customer, they haven't come back to pre-pandemic levels. And now you're layering on an oil shock on top of that. So we got fewer flights, higher airfares, a consumer who just hit a record low on confidence, small business owner. And we still haven't talked about this. Their sentiments just dropped to an 11-month low in March as oil prices spiked and uncertainty started hitting their profit expectations. So the people who would come here midweek are the same people who are scared right now. They're watching their costs go up. They're watching layoffs at big companies under the cover of efficiency and AI. And they look at the inflation numbers this week and they say, okay, so I'm not going to go to the restaurant 3 times this week. I'm going to go once. I'm not going to Vegas for 4 days. I might go for 2, or I might just not go. And see, that's the cycle. And Vegas sits right in the middle of it. Because Vegas is the ultimate discretionary spend. You don't have to come here. Nobody needs to come to Vegas. You come here when you feel good about your money. You come here when the tank isn't costing you $80 to fill. You come here when the airline seat is priced away in a way that makes sense for the long weekend. And right now, none of those things are true for a very large number of Americans. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying Vegas is done. I've never said that. I think the city is going to be here for 100 more years doing its thing. The bones are strong. The infrastructure is huge. The events are still coming. WrestleMania was here. Gosh, Formula One's coming back. The Hard Rock is almost open. There's real stuff happening. But what I am telling you is that the national data and the local data, they're telling the same story right now. And if you live here, if you work here, if you own a business here, you need to understand what's actually happening because nobody's going to sit you down and walk through the full picture. Most news just gives you a headline and moves on. But that's what we do here. So anyways, I post videos Monday through Friday breaking down exactly this kind of stuff, the real economy, what the numbers actually say, what's happening underneath the headlines. And on the weekends, I'm out there on the strip, live, through the trenches with you, having a conversation, showing you it all. So if you guys want to know how to capitalize on all this stuff and understand the flow of money, maybe line your pockets a little bit, click the link below, get into 1K a day. I'll see you in the next video. And as my mentor always tells me, just keep swimming. But as I have to defer to more and more these days, as it says on this band on my arm, God's got this.